Today, our ministry and schools across BC are taking the best science-based public health advice and planning to have as many children as possible back in classrooms in September. We know that schools are at the heart of our neighborhoods and communities, and they're the best places for students to learn and develop their abilities, knowledge, and skills. And for all those reasons, there's no substitute for in-class learning. We know from research here in British Columbia and around the world that there are consequences when children are not in school for extended periods of time. This can impact child development and the individual success of students and kids progressing through school and their life opportunities after school. School is where kids learn with their peers, with teachers and teaching assistants. It's where they grow. And for some children, school is a safe haven they have in their lives. It's the place where they learn and gain confidence in their abilities, the place where they often get fed properly. And in some cases, it's the only quiet space they have to study and to be able to ask questions and get help from caring adults. The closure of school in March and April had a profound, dislocating impact on the lives of many parents, students, and school staff. When British Columbia was in stage 4, the ministry and districts ensured schools were there for the children of essential service workers and vulnerable students, as well as those with complex learning needs. Meal and technology lending programs were developed and delivered by school districts to create supports and a measure of learning continuity at a time of disruption and uncertainty for BC families. In June, 200,000 students returned to the classroom in our province, but 400,000 students did not. And some of those students will have been away from a school setting for almost half a year when they return this September. We've learned a lot as a province over the past several months. The BC Centre for Disease Control and the Ministry of Education surveyed 26,000 parents and caregivers by July. The majority told us that they felt a lot of stress trying to support their children with at-home remote learning while holding down their jobs and trying to adapt to the changes in the school system and the world around them. We've been through a lot, and we've stayed resilient while our province and its public health leadership help BC tackle the pandemic and keep our people safe better than almost anywhere in the world. And that's why our goal continues to be ensuring most students can safely return to the classroom full-time this year. Today, all 60 public school districts have posted their detailed restart plans online, so parents and families can continue to prepare and support their children for a safe return to the classroom. We've had a chance to review each of these plans, and I'm impressed by the thoughtful, considerate, and innovative local solutions that we see within those plans. There's no question, as we all know, that schools are going to look very different than they did before the pandemic began, or even in June. Much like vital services and businesses that reopened are very different than they were before the pandemic. And education is one of those vital services in our province. It is a must for all children, and it must be delivered in the best and safest way possible. The plans approved and published today confirm that all elementary and middle schools will have access to full-time in-class instruction within the safety measures developed by the Provincial Health Office and the BC Centre for Disease Control. While many secondary schools will be able to support secondary students to return to the classroom full-time, there are many schools with larger populations, from Sooke to Surrey, that will offer a blend of in-class and remote learning. Some districts, from Coquitlam to Cowichan, are staggering pick-up and drop-off times as well as classroom, break, and lunch times. And whether it's in-class or blended learning, any student who requires additional support will always be prioritized for full-time in-class learning. The majority of school districts, almost 70%, are moving towards a quarterly semester system, so students will study 2 courses every 10 weeks. In communities like Chilliwack, Nelson, Sooke, Prince Rupert, and Campbell River, secondary schools will offer 1 course at a time for 5 weeks, so everyone can stay in the classroom with the same teacher for most of the day. That's why I encourage all families to visit their local school district's website to find out the details of their local plans. These plans will help you visualize what your child's school and learning environment will look like this fall, and families should feel more confident knowing that schools are doing everything possible to keep students and staff safe. While there's no substitute for in-class learning, we also know there are families who, for medical, health, or other reasons, don't feel comfortable yet having their children back in class, and that is completely understandable. We understand that parents and caregivers are looking for more options, and this is something we've been discussing in great detail with our stakeholder-led steering committee and education partners for the past several weeks. Based on these discussions and the interests and ideas shared, it is my expectation as the Minister of Education that school districts will be flexible. They will work with families to provide options to keep children connected to their school communities. And that's why I've directed school districts to contact all families in their school communities to share their safety plans and to confirm if their child is attending school or if they require a remote online learning option. Since the plan was announced on July 29th, many districts have already begun engaging with parents to determine their needs. When it comes to options, BC is a diverse province, and there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. Every school district will do what fits best with their local community needs, and we've given them the ability to be flexible and find options that work for families. We've given them the tools they need to increase their existing programs and to identify and meet new demand. We've extended the authority to all school boards to flexibly offer remote learning programs to students within their districts and local bricks and mortar schools. And we provided districts with the ability to expand their local distributed learning programs to include additional grades and services to students and district schools to meet those local needs. Internet access has been upgraded for all schools in the province through the K-12 Next Generation Network. We've provided and will continue to provide a provincial license for Zoom so all students have a secure platform for real-time video conferencing. We have now over 2,000 curated curriculum learning resources available for educators, and we've developed materials and a webinar series hosted by experts to support teachers and those who are serving students remotely. When it comes to support, districts have been provided additional funds through the Safe Return to Schools grant to purchase things and loan technology to students like tablets or laptops that support an educational program. Regardless of what platform education is delivered, in-class learning or remote learning, supporting students with curriculum content and social and emotional well-being resources is our top priority. Given the unpredictability of the pandemic, we know there may be enrollment and in-class participation that varies throughout this school year. And that's why we will continue working with school districts to stay flexible and nimble as students' needs change. And we must provide the same flexibility so they can direct their funding to the appropriate programs and services and redirect when necessary. BC's education system is benefiting from significantly improved funding for our schools, including an additional $546 million in new money in Budget 2020. Public schools in BC will receive a total of $6.24 billion in operating and special grants in 2020-21. Increase over what government provided in 2016-17 and is an increase equivalent to $1,900 per public school in the province. And our government is committed to stable to support students, schools, and districts during this health crisis. Support like this will help students maintain their learning and keep them connected to their local school community. Today, the federal government has also announced $2 billion to support school restart plans throughout Canada. We've been talking with the federal government about the need for more resources and for our provincial restart and schools, and we're very appreciative of the additional support announced today. The funding builds on the work we've already done to support a safe restart of BC schools with $45.6 million in new COVID-specific funding to ensure students and staff are safe. This includes new funding provided provincially for 1.5 million non-medical masks, additional hand washing stations, physical barriers, and cleaning supplies, as well as hiring more custodians, purchasing technology, and supporting students with complex needs. This additional funding will provide districts with the resources to purchase additional PPE if needed, install more plexiglass barriers, purchase cleaning equipment such as foggers, improve ventilation systems, and hire even more custodians to further increase cleaning frequency in school facilities and in transportation services. Allows us to provide more resources to districts so they can invest even further in these areas and to continue providing ongoing learning opportunities in a safe way. Let me speak for a moment about Indigenous communities. Supporting Indigenous communities continues to be a priority in every district's back-to-school plans. We know there are some First Nations communities who are not comfortable sending their children back to school full, given the historic impacts of pandemics on Indigenous communities and the need to protect elders in those communities. And that's why every school district is also working with First Nations to ensure their students are supported. I'm very pleased to see that in the approved plans, communities from Gold River to Vernon are consulting with local First Nations to arrange for teachers to go into the community to provide learning for those students. Parents and caregivers can expect to hear directly from their school district and their local school. They have the opportunity now to go online and look at the local district plans.